Hello, and welcome to Back Through the Lens, where two film school friends talk about movies through the haze of nostalgia, the good, the bad, and the ones that aren't quite how we remember them. I'm your host, Rachel, and with me is my co host, Joe. Today's movie, Princess Bride.
In today's episode, you remember actor, director, and writer Rob Reiner. Rob's lengthy career put him in front of and behind the camera, from his iconic role as Meathead in All in the Family to his directorial hits such as This Is Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, When Harry Met Sally, and, of course, The Princess Bride. As a director, Reiner had a hugely successful film run from 1984 to 1992, cementing him into our childhood movie memory banks.
A little bit before the Christmas holiday, Rob Reiner passed away. He and his wife, Michelle, passed away.
What role or movie comes to mind first, like from your childhood for Rob Reiner? Could be in front of or behind the camera.
For me, definitely The Princess Bride, and not any particular role in front of the camera. I feel like he's just always popping up in bit parts. Like he
Yes.
has a bit part in Sleepless in Seattle. He has that bit part in The First Wives Club. I feel like he's just everywhere all the time.
Yeah. I vaguely remember him as Meathead because I believe my dad would watch some All in the Family in syndication. Maybe
Okay.
Nick at Night, probably a bigger network like ABC or Fox or something like that. Didn't really watch the show, saw it here and there. But when as a young teenager, preteen, my friends and I put on This Is Spinal Tap, I'm like, I recognize that guy. He's
Mm-hmm.
missing a lot of hair, but I recognize that guy. And I think like between like that physical connection between Meathead and the fake directorial role in his real directorial role in This Is Spinal Tap, I made that connection. But like I think This Is Spinal Tap might be the strongest pull for me for like how I remember him. And it kind
Yeah,
of is cool because he's both in front of and behind the camera in that one. Very briefly in front of, but he still pops up here and there.
I didn't see Spinal Tap until I was maybe in high school. I also watched a lot of When Harry Met Sally, so that's another one too. But I didn't watch All in the Family. And I feel like the clips I would see of it or the bits I would see of it when I was younger was always the dad, like the angry dad. I guess he
Well,
was
yes, of course.
Rob Reiner's character's father-in-law. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I didn't realize for a while that that was the same person, like that he was in All in the Family. But yeah, I feel like I said he just would pop up everywhere. And then as I got a little more into film and directors, I realized he was also directing some of these movies you would see him in, like Spinal Tap. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like he was always, almost always around as a, I want to say a promoter of movies, but that's weird. But I feel like I don't know, anytime you would watch some making of the movies, like documentary series or something, he would just pop up as this person who worked in movies and loved movies and was really into preservation and that sort of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I think promoter of movies can that be my job? Can I be a promoter of movies? Is that what we're doing now? Kinda.
Sure. Yeah,
Kinda.
kind of.
Yeah.
Yep. So, like you said, he kind of got his start on All in the Family acting. His father was Carl Reiner, for people who are not familiar, who was also an actor, director, writer, kind of wore all the hats throughout his career. I feel like he's usually most cited as the creator of the Dick Van Dyke Show, even though Carl Reiner did a lot of other things too. I didn't realize that Carl Reiner directed The Jerk.
Oh wow. I did not know that either.
Yeah, like I knew he was a director. I just didn't I guess I didn't know specifically what movies. He worked a lot with Mel Brooks and Steve Martin. Rob Reiner obviously followed in his footsteps, like you said, Meathead on All in the Family. He won 2 Emmys for that role, which I did not know.
Isn't
Um,
that funny? Like I mean, I didn't watch a lot of it because it was before our time, but
right,
I
yeah.
mean, some of these movies are before our time anyways, but that wasn't the show that I was locked into as a child, but just hearing the title of the character, Meathead, And
Hmm.
then hearing he wins 2 Emmys for that is, I don't know, it's kind of funny to me.
It is funny because it feels like he would be a really stupid character when you just hear the name.
Right.
So 2 Emmys for All in the Family. Pivoted to directing. It honestly just sounded like he always wanted to direct, and he started with This is Spinal Tap. Sounds like Norman Lear, who I believe was the creator of All in the Family and a lot of other classic TV shows, put in some funding for him to make This is Spinal Tap. So
Nice.
like Norman Lear, who I would say is probably a TV legend, surely had lots of expendable income from all his hit TV shows. Like, what a great guy to have in your back pockets.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I would like to
That,
make some movies, sir. Please help.
yeah, have them right in your back pocket where the wallet needs to be.
Yeah. So this was followed by The Sure Thing in 1985, Stand By Me in 1986. We did do a discussion of Stand By Me in episode 19, if you would like to hear more of the specifics about that. The Princess Bride followed in 1987, which is what we're here to talk about today. But some of his other notable movies: When Harry Met Sally, 1989, Misery in 1990, A Few Good Men in 1992, and A Few Good Men was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Rob had a hell of a stretch there, I would say.
He really did. I've always liked An American President. I want to say that came out in 95, but I could be wrong.
I think it was a couple pictures later, but yeah.
Hmm.
I always forget what he does behind camera besides this is Spinal Tap, because again, he does pop up here and there in front of the camera. Obviously, I remember him with Stand By Me because we talked about that. But then a couple years later, he does another Stephen King adaptation in Misery, which is totally unlike anything else he's done so far. And it's also considered one of the better of the adaptation films for Stephen King works.
I had never seen Misery until recently, like maybe a year ago or so. And you know this because I was texting you when I was watching it. It's like Joe would be so proud of me for finally watching this. Yeah, I think what strikes me the most doing this research on Rob Reiner and like getting into his filmography, he really just worked in every genre. He did everything. I
Hmm.
feel like, there are some directors who have calling cards, so to speak, that are genre specific or a certain type of story they like to tell. And I feel like with Rob Reiner, he just told really good stories and apparently was a really great person to work with. And that's more of his legacy that he carried through all his films more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, looking through his filmography, I mean, just the stretch too. Like we go from mostly lighthearted comedies, but then you get like a kind of horror psychological thriller, and then like a political thriller with A Few Good Men, directing legends in front of the camera like Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson.
Hmm.
Most of the stuff after it did seem to kind of fall in between like Princess Bride and Harry Met Sally. I think he has more a touch for the softer side, but he
Yes.
also went all over the place whenever he needed to.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could say he did a lot of rom com type stories. Because you could, if you really wanted to, you could call Princess Bride a rom com. Obviously, When Harry Met Sally, The American President maybe was a little more of a drama than a comedy, but still a romance, especially when you look at some of his later movies. But like you said, you can't deny he had really big movies that are not in that genre. Actually, now that we're talking about it, Rob Reiner never won an Oscar, did he?
I don't think so.
I don't think he did. Which
Emmys,
just goes to
yes.
show you,
Yeah.
like, he has this legendary filmography.
I would be curious to see some of these films that were really big
Hmm.
as far as like critical acclaim,
Yeah.
what they were up against the year of they came out.
I do like looking back at that sometimes when things that have stood the test of time, especially if they received awards attention, you see what else came out that year and what they were up against. And I like seeing when some random thing wins the award instead, like movies we've completely forgotten about, which I'm sure happens a lot. So we're doing this episode today to remember Rob Reiner, who passed away recently at the age of 78, along with his wife, Michelle. Today, we are talking about The Princess Bride, directed by Rob Reiner, released October 9th, 1987, rated PG, based on the novel The Princess Bride by William Goldman.
A grandfather brings a book to entertain his sick grandson. This book has everything a great story could ever want: sword fights, pirates, giants, revenge, spooky woods filled with danger, and even the kissing parts. It's a fairy tale adventure about a beautiful young woman and a farm boy, Buttercup and Wesley. After a lengthy separation, he must save his one true love from becoming the bride of an evil prince.
So I specifically remember the first time I saw this time, which doesn't happen often, I know. But there was a particular friend's house we'd always hang out at in middle school, and we'd watch a lot of movies. I remember watching Jay and Silent Bob there a lot, actually, now that I'm thinking about this. Both like the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, that one.
I kind of figured, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, there was one day where we couldn't agree on what to watch, and he was like, "Oh, what about The Princess Bride?" And a bunch of us hadn't seen it, actually. So he was like, "Well, we have to watch it then if more than one of you has not seen it." I was one of those people. I had never even heard of it. I remember him putting it on, and I was like, "What?" Like, at first, I was really like, "What is this? Everyone's names are dumb." Like, because
Yeah.
like I was like, her name is Buttercup, and this prince's name is Humperdinck. Like, what is this? Obviously, though, it went over well after
Yes.
after the initial like not being sure what I was getting myself into.
I can remember the first time I watched this film as if it was yesterday. Because, surprise, it was yesterday.
Shut up, was
Hmm.
it?
Yep, I'm glad I hid that
Joe.
secret from you. So, it's one of those films, it's been around forever in, like, my queue, so to speak. And I remember seeing bits and pieces of it even as a kid. I remember someone bringing it over, an aunt or uncle, for me to watch, and I think I was too young to pay attention. I was like playing with toys or whatever. But I
Mm-hmm.
remember watching what Fred Savage initially thought was just the cool parts, like the sword fighting and stuff. I remember those
Mm-hmm.
like those scenes, the settings, all that stuff. Definitely not the beginning, the kissy parts for sure. Um, and then the end. But there's like bits and pieces throughout, and of course, it's been a part of pop culture. I know all the famous lines, or at least the ones that are people will know. Not all
Yeah.
the dumb ones I put down in the script today. But as a start to finish film, it took 40 years.
I am shocked. I am slightly betrayed that you kept this from me for so long.
I'm sure I've mentioned it in years past as like one of everyone has a list of films they should see and they haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
And that was up there in like probably my top 5.
I'm just shocked that you didn't mention this when I was going through Rob Reiner movies and was like, we should probably do The Princess Bride.
Well, I even suggested that. I was between this and Spinal Tap
Yeah.
because I just know the impact it has and also the year it came out and our age range.
Yes. Damn. All right. Well, this episode has already taken a turn. I'm very interested to see what all your thoughts are.
Well, that's why if you didn't remember, I haven't seen it. It's not like I go around telling people, guess what I haven't seen yet. I figured it would be a good reveal, and then I didn't want to affect how the rest of the episode would go, you knowing that knowledge. So,
Hmm.
to be fair, I
Okay.
also know a lot about The Princess Bride prior to me of watching it, because it's huge. It's a cult
Yeah.
classic. Everyone loves it. I loved it,
Hmm.
and I never even seen it till last night. So, I mean, how about an impact of a film that is?
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, anyway, still slightly hurt by the secret
Hurt.
you kept from me.
Wow.
Hurt and betrayed.
Well, my bad.
It's okay. Good reveal. Good sense of the dramatic. Good storytelling.
I learned from Rob.
Okay. I gotta collect myself now. Okay, well, our story begins with the novel by William Goldman, Published in 1973. I've actually read the book. I read it in high school. I don't remember a ton about it, but I remember it being very funny.
Was this before or after the first time you saw it?
I had already seen the movie. Like, it was
Okay.
already one of my favorite movies. So I would say I saw the movie for the first time in middle school, and then I owned a copy, and then I didn't read the book till like high school. But I feel like for me, it's not often I read a book where I'm laughing out loud, and this was one of them.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, remember it being pretty long, so they obviously condensed things for the movie version, which again, I think is fine. I don't necessarily feel like movies have to be purely faithful because it's two different types of art. It's,
Right.
and if
Well,
you're
pacing's
literally
different.
exactly, the pacing's different. People will sit through a certain length of movie that maybe they would tolerate a longer book. Like, I don't know. You just,
Hmm.
it's okay. But I have a quote from William Goldman. I had two little daughters. I think they were 7 and 4 at the time. And I said, I'll write you a story. What do you want it to be about? One of them said a princess, and the other one said a bride. And I said, okay, that'll be the title.
Wow, it's that easy, huh?
Yeah, it's that easy. And
Damn.
it's funny because I always think about the title. She, I think I actually got confused the first time I saw it because I was like, why is she just someone living on a farm? She's not really a princess. Because the whole thing is she's forced to be a bride because of Humperdinck, but then she will be a princess if the wedding goes through.
Right, and then
So it's
eventually
not
Queen.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay. Like, I feel like sometimes you can't think about it too hard.
I think William Goldman's children did a better job naming the story than George Lucas kids do in naming bad guys in Star Wars films.
I don't think I realized his kids named the bad guys.
In the prequels. I'll give you an
Ah.
example. Count Dooku.
Jeez. Okay.
All right. Just I'm giving you a range here so you can, compare and contrast.
Gotcha. It's like when parents let their kids name the family pet and they just string some random words together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. I actually did not realize that William Goldman is a very accomplished screenwriter. He wrote Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and All the President's Men,
Oh,
among other
nice.
things. Yeah.
Well, he
Uh,
also co-wrote this one, right?
yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. And unlike many other movies we've discussed, he and Rob Reiner apparently had a great working relationship.
Very nice.
I know. But I also think everyone had a great working relationship with Rob Reiner. That's pretty much the through line, I think.
I've noticed that as well.
Yeah. So Rob Reiner was working on Stand By Me, and I believe we said that came out in what, 86? So while he was working on Stand By Me, he and Paramount began talking about what his next project would be. He told them he loved the book, The Princess Bride. He had actually gotten it as a gift from his father, Carl Reiner, and he had always been interested in adapting it. This is a quote from Rob Reiner. It was an impossible sell. The funny thing about it was that before I made Stand By Me, I had made Spinal Tap and The Sure Thing. I had a meeting with this executive at Paramount. She said, "We love your films. What do you want to do next?" I said, "Well, you don't want to do what I want to do." She said, "No, that's not true. I want to do what you want to do." I said, "No, no, you want me to do what you want to do." She said, "No, no, I want to do what you want to do. What is it?" I said, "The Princess Bride." She said, "Well, anything but that."
Wow.
Yep.
Well, he knew what he was up against, I guess.
Yeah, so there had been multiple failed attempts to turn this into a movie. Directors who tried and failed. Francois Truffaut of French New Wave
Oh,
fame.
okay.
Uh, Norman Jewison, who did Jesus Christ Superstar and In the Heat of the Night. Richard Lester, who's probably best known for the Beatles movies. Do you know what I'm talking
Okay.
about? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And Robert Redford. Christopher Reeve was reportedly interested in playing Wesley during one of these adaptation attempts.
Hmm.
I feel like it's hard to imagine Wesley as not blonde.
Or Christopher as not Superman.
Right, that too, yeah. So basically, everyone's like, Rob Reiner, this will never work because it has never worked yet. And Rob
Mm.
Reiner was like, I have Norman Lear in my back pocket. Watch me.
Yeah, no one else had the wallet size that my buddy, my good
Hmm.
friend, Mr. Norman Lear, have.
Yes. So basically, Norman Lear put up funding for this just like he had with Spinal Tap. I did notice that he's credited as an executive producer, which is usually the credit you get when you pay for the thing.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So Rob Reiner worked on the screenplay with William Goldman, the author. Reiner met with William Goldman in person to explain his vision for the movie. Goldman said, I think that sounds great. And Rob Reiner said this was the highest high of his entire career. And he said this, somewhat recently, like 30 years on from The Princess Bride. This was the highest high of his career because this man he had idolized for years said he had a good idea. So for casting, Rob Reiner wanted Carrie Elwes for Wesley pretty much right off the bat. There's a movie called Lady Jane, which came out in 1986, starring Carrie and Helena Bonham Carter. Have you ever heard of Lady Jane Grey, who was the 9 Days Queen?
That sounds familiar, but I can't say I know
Vaguely
anything
familiar,
about.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a biopic, I guess. Helena Bonham Carter played Lady Jane. Carrie played her husband. From what I understand, obviously it was an arranged marriage, like everything was back in medieval England, but they actually did fall in love, at least for the movie. So I assume Rob Reiner saw Carrie in this romance and was like, that's my guy. He flew out to West Germany, because it was still West Germany at the time, to meet Carrie because he was filming a movie out there and still auditioned lots of other actors, but always knew he wanted Carrie, which we keep seeing again and again.
Yeah, I kind of like that pattern. The director, I really want this person. I'm gonna do my fairness, did my
Hmm.
all my research, my due diligence,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I feel like you kind of already have that locked in, and it's hard to if you picture someone's face and physicality as this role, it's hard to kind of replace them.
Yes. Yeah, and that's pretty much what he said. He looked like Wesley and he knew he could be a leading man in a romance because of this previous movie. And like I said, he flew out all the way to another country to meet him because
Right.
Carrie always could not come in LA and audition. I have a list of actresses who auditioned for Buttercup: Uma Thurman, Meg Ryan, Sean Young, Courtney Cox, and Whoopi Goldberg.
Hmm.
Apparently, she was the most difficult to cast. Both Rob Reiner and the casting director, Jane Jenkins, just had such a hard time feeling like anyone was the right fit. Robin Wright's agent encouraged her to audition. She just went in for an audition like all these other actresses did. But both Rob Reiner and the casting director felt like there was something about her, but they had to have her audition for William Goldman. That was the last hurdle. This is a story from Jane Jenkins, the casting director. This is when they're all meeting at William Goldman's house for Robin Wright's audition. The doorbell rang. Rob went to the door, and literally, as he opened the door, Robin Wright was standing there in this little white summer dress with her long blonde hair, and she had a halo from the sun. She was backlit by God, and William Goldman looked across the room at her and he said, well, that's what I wrote. It was the most perfect thing. And Robin Wright herself said I think I was literally the 500th ingenue to read for Rob. And I think he was so exhausted at that point from looking at all the girls. He was like, oh, God, just hire her.
All right then.
Yeah.
One was very poetic and beautiful. The other one's like, I got lucky. He was
Yeah.
lazy.
Yep.
Hmm.
But no,
Interesting.
they did all say they had an extremely hard time casting that role. I think Robin Wright had only done one other movie and a soap opera at that point, so she really was pretty unknown.
Yeah, it does say introducing in
Hmm.
this film. Yeah.
Yeah. Wallace Shawn, who plays Vicini, he was cast partially due to his size. They really wanted a short actor, so there would be a contrast between him and Fezzik, because Fezzik was always going to be a giant. Danny DeVito was also considered for the role. And as we will get more into the movie, apparently, at least according to Wallace Shawn, Danny DeVito had the role. It would have been his, but he had to turn it down because of scheduling or something. And
Hmm.
it really got into Wallace Shawn's head.
Really?
So, yeah, apparently he was horribly nervous the whole time filming this because he was like, they probably wish I was Danny DeVito.
Yeah, I guess I could understand that feeling like you were just second, but picked because of inconvenience. I don't know.
Right. So, Mandy Patinkin, who plays Inigo Montoya, I read an interview with him where he said he immediately wanted this part. He felt so drawn to it. And this is a quote from him: "That character just spoke to me profoundly. I had lost my own father. He died at 53 years old from pancreatic cancer in 1972. I didn't think about it consciously, but I think that there was a part of me that thought, if I get that man in black, my father will come back. I talked to my dad all the time during filming, and it was very healing for me."
That's sweet and kind of serendipitous.
Yeah, it sounded like it was a really I mean, honestly, it sounded like this was a great filming experience for everyone involved, but for Mandy Patinkin, I didn't realize he had latched onto this character in the way he did. William Golden, the author, originally wanted Andre the Giant for Fezzik, like back when the novel was first being shopped around to being turned into a movie. So back in the 1970s when it was first published. His second choice was Arnold Schwarzenegger because Andre the Giant was never available due to his wrestling schedule. By the time The Princess Bride was finally greenlit, so I assume they mean this version with Rob Reiner, Arnold Schwarzenegger was too big of a movie star and they couldn't afford him.
87? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Terminator might have just come out. Conan was already out.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Hmm.
wasn't even thinking about when Terminator came out. That's a good point. The World Wrestling Federation still told them that Andre the Giant wasn't available, particularly during filming. He was going to have a match in Tokyo. For some reason, the match was eventually canceled toward the end of the casting process, and basically everyone was like, thank God, because they could not find anyone else for this role. So,
I mean,
Andre,
the man's name is literally the Giant.
I know. They literally auditioned any other tall men they could think of, and that was a quote. They just auditioned tall men. This included Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
Okay. All
just
right.
because he was tall.
Mm-hmm.
Lou Ferrigno, who had played the Incredible Hulk, I think in the TV show.
Yes.
Um, I feel like I'm gonna butcher this name, but Carol Stroiken? He played the giant in Twin Peaks and Lurch in The Addams Family.
Oh, okay.
Do you know who I'm talking
Out of
about?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Well, I know Lurch.
Yeah, yeah.
I could totally, out of all those, see that because he is very tall.
Yes. Although it's funny to me that, I mean, yes, the giant should be tall, but these are all like tall, skinnier people. Maybe not Lou Ferrigno,
Yes.
but like there's a you need the width too, right? If he's a giant, because if he's tall and just like a reed, like he's more easily defeated.
Yeah. I mean, Lou Ferrigno could probably work too.
Yeah, that's what
He's
I
he's
thought.
big and bulky.
Hmm. I agree. Apparently Liam Neeson also auditioned and they just told him he wasn't tall enough.
Wow. I
I
mean,
don't
first of all, there are things called angles. Come on.
yeah.
We could easily do that. And if you got someone short in the other end, you could definitely. I mean, they make Tom Cruise look like he's tall in every movie, or at least moderately medium height. I mean, glad it worked out, but I'd rather see Lou Frigno than Arnold Schwarzenegger, though. I don't know. There's something about like I think he would be. His face is too iconic with other roles. I feel like it would pull from
Yeah.
this character.
Yeah, even if they had, made this earlier before he was a movie star, if he still went on to the same career that he ended up having, I think it would be so much harder to I don't know. I look back at really early Arnold Schwarzenegger movies as pretty cheesy. Like I don't know how
Yeah.
I would have felt about this, but again, we always say this, it's hard to think of anything being different now because
Right.
This is what we're used to. So everyone, William Goldman, the casting director, everyone is very relieved that they don't have to cast a random tall man, and they get Andre the Giant. However, Andre was hesitant because the dialogue was in English, obviously. Um, is he
French.
French? Okay. Oh, that's right, because I read that whole urban legend about Samuel Beckett driving him to school in France. But yeah, there's a story about that he apparently told to Carrie Elways on set that he would get rides to school from Samuel Beckett, the Irish playwright. And apparently that's true, but it was just Samuel Beckett moved to the same small town in France and had a convertible and would drive the kids sometimes to school. It wasn't necessarily like he had this specific friendship with Andre the Giant.
Right. It's
Yeah,
still worth
it's a
noting.
funny story.
Yeah. I love how you threw in that it was a convertible because, well, where else is he going to fit in?
Well, right, yes. But no, just two people you don't think of being in the same orbit at all.
Right.
Yeah, when I first read that, I was like, the Irish writer? It's like, what? And then I
Yeah.
was like, wait, did they go to school together? I'm so confused. Anyway, okay, so Andre was very concerned about his English skills, basically, and he had never acted. It didn't stop Arnold Schwarzenegger, so,
That's what I was
Um,
just thinking. Like, can you imagine these lines with Arnold, especially like late '80s Arnold?
yeah.
Like his English was bad and his voice was still very guttural.
Yes. So basically, Rob Reiner recorded all of Fezzik's lines so that Andre could listen to them and get the pronunciation right. So instead of him learning English or, you know, making this into a bigger job, he basically just worked on his specific lines. And
Okay.
I mean, I can understand him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For the most part. And
for
it's
the most
not
part.
a,
Yeah.
well, I don't think it's a English versus French thing. It's just he is so big and his
Yes.
voice is so thick.
Yeah, that's
Um,
what I always thought, that it was just more of a result of like his size and his condition.
mhm.
Okay. I'm glad we agree on this. Okay, so they filmed at various locations around England and Ireland. The only scenes shot in a studio were the grandson's house.
Okay.
There were a lot of stories in every interview I read about Rob Reiner hanging out with the cast every evening. There were some reports that he rented a house in England during filming and he always had people over for dinner. But then there were other quotes from people like Robin Wright and Carrie Elwes about them all hanging out at one of their hotel rooms for dinner or just in the restaurant of the hotel. Like they would all just hang out together, the whole cast and Rob Reiner. And Andre the Giant in particular said this ended up being a great experience for him because he really felt like he was just treated like another one of the cast members and that people weren't staring at him like a freak, which are his words. He just felt like he fit in with
Yeah.
everyone. Although there are two stories. Chris Sarandon, who plays Humperdinck, brought his daughters to set one day because they were very excited about the idea that their dad was working with a giant and they wanted to meet him. They ended up screaming in terror when they actually saw him. And Chris Sarandon was apologizing up and down. He felt so bad. And Andre just shrugged and said, they either run to me or run from me. There was also another story that multiple cast members and Rob Reiner had repeated where when they would drink, Andre the Giant would drink, the way they put it, he could, drink bottles of wine and just be tipsy because of his size. But he really overdid it one day and ended up passing out in the lobby of the hotel, I believe. And no one knew what to do because they couldn't move him.
Yeah.
And I think housekeeping or the front desk at the hotel ended up calling a taxi to like come get him, but he was still passed out. I think they just realized they needed to clear the lobby because they were going to open for the day and people were going to be coming in and out. And this taxi driver came up and was like, "I can't move him. Like, what do you want me to do about this?" And I don't know how this all resolved, but that was a story repeated by multiple people that the housekeeping found him, was horrified because they were like, "He's very large and we don't know what to do." And also apparently how much alcohol he probably would have had to drink to get to that state, because like
Yes,
they said,
yes.
for a regular sized person to be drunk, he would have just been tipsy, is the way they put it.
I imagine that in the lobby when they couldn't move him, they just put like a giant blanket over him. It's like, yep, nothing to see here.
Yeah, nothing to see here.
As a wrestling fan, I definitely have heard multitudes of stories of Andre's, I guess we can call them drinking accomplishments. I don't know what else
Okay.
to say. He was well known for putting away a great many beverages and barely feeling it. And then on the
Yeah.
other side, though, when he did feel it, it was a train wreck.
Yeah.
Because what are you going to do with someone that big?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a regular sized keg in his hand would look like a tall boy in mine.
Right. Okay, so a few more quotes from the cast, just about all of them hanging out, apparently all the time. Christopher Guest, who plays the six-fingered man, every day was really movie camp. There are a lot of times when you're on a movie on location and you're kind of a loner and you stay in your room. This was an uncommonly friendly gang of people.
Nice.
Carrie was, "We all became very much like a family, but Rob works that way. He likes to create a familial atmosphere on his sets. He likes to take the cast out to dinner nearly every night, and he keeps that camaraderie going. And it's a lovely thing. It's very smart, really, because you create bonds with the rest of the cast, and that ends up on the screen." And lastly, Carol Kane, who plays Valerie, who is Magic Max's wife. "We just had so much fun on the set, and a lot of that was thanks to Rob's great enthusiasm. You just felt like you were a part of something warm and magical and slightly cuckoo."
Love it.
Yeah, I like how we don't have much to say about getting it made because everyone said no, and then Norman Lear saved the day.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
I feel a few times with these other directors. Rob is like, I got a buddy. He's got a wallet.
Yep.
He believes in me.
He
I'm a
believes in
nice
me.
guy.
I would love to know what Francois Truffaut's version of The Princess Bride would have been like, though.
I don't know.
The existentialism. So we start the movie with Fred Savage, 10-year-old Fred Savage at home, sick. It's so funny to me. I read this interview with him where he said flying out to England to film this was his first international flight. And I was like, oh, that's funny. And then I was like, well, why? Because I never flew internationally until I was an adult, like post college. And I think I just always have thought of Fred Savage as a major actor because of the Wonder Years.
Well, I mean, he was, but none of that required him to fly to England.
I know. I don't know. I think it was weird to me that he was unknown at this point, and I just didn't realize that there was a point where Fred Savage was unknown. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Sure.
But he said Peter Falk, who plays the grandfather, was great with him on set, and they continued to have a friendship for years after this. It sounds
Oh,
like this was one of Fred Savage's first movie roles, movie or TV.
yeah, I think so.
Imagine having Peter Falk as your like mentor from a young age.
I mean, it's pretty good.
I know. All
I
these
don't know what
people
else.
on this movie just got so lucky.
Yeah, yeah. I do like the very beginning, the old school video game, like
Hmm.
just off the rip, brings you into some sort of 80s nostalgia. Whether you've seen the movie
Yes.
once or not, I still felt it.
Yeah, just the sounds of that video game for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And as we have mentioned, staying home sick and like sometimes you're alone, sometimes our grandparents came over to make sure we were still okay.
Pinch your cheeks.
Yep.
I have a question to bother you and everyone else.
Yes.
Could this be vaguely argued as a potential Christmas movie?
Because you can tell it's Christmas time in the kids' house.
Yes.
Hmm. You know what? If you want to loosen your definition of Christmas movie that much, I'm not gonna argue.
I'm going to say no. I just noticed it right away, though. I was
A
asking the general you and I guess anyone else listening because that was the first thing I noticed after the video game, the wide shot of him in the bedroom, and there's a giant Santa on his closet,
yeah,
like a one he made from at school or something. It's paper mache or
yeah.
whatever. And then when the mom comes in outside, you see Christmas lights and snow.
Mhm. I did notice the Santa a lot watching it back this time because it's kind of it has a weird face. But like obviously a kid made it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Don't make fun of Fred
Um
Savage's arts and crafts.
Yeah, I don't care if
It's not. I just, yeah.
I do love the way the grandfather walks in and is like, "Hey." like
Yeah,
like
that is
he
a
is
good
here to
introduction.
entertain. Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
I feel this very much though, where the kid just wants to play video games and the grandfather's like, I brought a book. And like,
Yeah.
I'm a big reader, but even I understand like this 10-year-old boy would rather play his video games.
Yeah. And I mean, even to your point, I wrote a quote here where the grandfather says, "Back in my day, televisions were called books."
Kind of some boomer energy from the grandfather.
Yeah, 100%. Like, no, they still call them televisions, but we read more, is what he's trying to say.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So we get this like honestly very fast introduction to Buttercup and Wesley, right? He's her farmhand and she just orders him around and one day they realize they are in love and they just gaze at each other adoringly.
They do a lot of that. Yes, there's a lot
Yes.
of smoldering looks, and
Mhm.
I did think that just her saying "farm boy" a lot was very rude.
Yes. She came off as very rude
Yeah,
in the beginning. And it's funny to me because, later when Humperdinck is like, this is the woman I'm going to marry. She's a commoner just like you. But then she had a farm boy that she ordered around. So, like, maybe it's slightly higher level of commoner. But then
yeah,
it didn't look like she had a lot of money. Like, when you see the inside of where she lived.
yeah. Maybe though it's a different time period where, like, I don't know, the woman of the house didn't do the outside chores, and they had to hire a farmhand, I guess, or they worked on
It
the
was just
farm
too much
as
work,
like,
probably. Yeah.
well, think of like Wizard of Oz, where they had the three farmhands, and they clearly had a relationship with Dorothy. They lived on the farm; that was their job, but also their place where they lived because depression and
Oh, I see. Yeah.
yeah. So maybe
Mm.
he lived there and worked to pay off his stay.
Yeah, I could see that. Did Buttercup just live alone?
I assume there was parents somewhere, but we didn't see them.
Okay.
I mean, we're only on the
Uh,
farm for like 2 minutes.
it's
It's just
true.
here's the scene. If you haven't seen this movie, like I haven't seen it until just now, it's farm boy, farm boy, farm boy, farm boy, and he's just looking at her lustily, and then they're like, "We are actually in love. I gotta go. Bye."
Gotta go seek my fortune. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
can marry you.
yeah.
Very Scrooge.
Mmm.
Mm. Can't get married yet because I haven't made enough money.
He's just a farm boy. I mean, he's so poor she doesn't know his name.
Yeah, I always thought it was such a dig. Later, when she says that Humperdinck's not her one true love, she had a farm boy who was poor and perfect.
Yes, it's like a double dig.
Uh, no, but that being said, I love the dialogue in this movie because everything is this really like flowery language, like very fairy tale, but they
Mm-hmm.
say it with such seriousness. And I wrote that down when Wesley is leaving. He says to her, "This is true love. Do you think this happens every day?"
Yeah, on paper, the way you would say it or I would say it, but the way it's done in the film,
It
beautiful.
works.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
works.
Yep. Wesley is presumed dead because of the Dread Pirate Roberts. Eventually, we get to a point where Prince Humperdinck has decided he's going to marry Buttercup. He's going to marry a random commoner. Like you said, it all moves very fast. There's no real explanation
You
for
know,
any of it.
he just cuts to him standing in a spire and looking down on his peoples
Hmm.
and like, you there, you will be my wife. Questions? Moving on.
Yeah. And Buttercup is still so depressed over Wesley. She's just like, fine, whatever. Like, she's just going through the motions of her whole life for the past
5 years?
5 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always hate the way Humperdinck says her name when he introduces her. He overly pronounces each syllable. And it's just one of those things where it's like, if I didn't already have to hate him because, you want her to be with Wesley, that would have been enough.
Right. Well, maybe he's also confused like you were about the name. Buttercup. Maybe her parents on the farm don't exist because she offed them being so mad at the name choice.
Oh my God. Okay. I don't know. I'm always wondering, like, how did this all happen? How did he pick her and all these things? And we find out later he's gonna, have her done away with and frame the other country so they have a reason to invade. But so she really could have been anyone, right? But there's that point where he's like, "Oh, the public is quite taken with her." And it's like, are they? Like, this just all
Yeah,
sort of happened.
it's just it happened.
Yep.
Hmm.
Anyway, I do like so the beginning of Buttercup being kidnapped by was it Vicini, Inigo Montoya, and Fezzik. By the way, I read an interview that they kept calling Andre the Giant's character instead of Fezzik, they called him Fezzini. I was like, that's not right.
Vizzini?
I think they combined his name with Wallace Shawn's character and just no one
Yeah.
caught it, and
Okay.
it's just interesting. These people have jobs in entertainment. Why
I mess
not
up names
us?
all the time.
Anyway, this scene where she's first leaving the castle, she's out riding. I do love that they put her in this red cloak because she stands out so well against everything else. Everything's very drab and like gray and brown.
Hmm.
That first shot where we see the three kidnappers together, in that moment, I was like, okay, it was so smart to hire a shorter person to get that contrast they wanted because that's just a great shot.
Yeah, and they all kind of look shorter because it's shot from Buttercup's point of view on the horse.
Yes.
So it's kind of funny because then when you really get down to ground level, how big Andre is.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, it's a good point because they are all shot from above, even Andre the Giant.
Hmm. Even though in probably real life, he's probably as tall as the horse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking as you were bringing this up.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely they're
Um,
all looking up at her.
my question might land differently now because, I've just learned you have never seen this movie.
I know what you're
But
talking about.
do you have trouble taking Wallace Shawn seriously in any other role you've seen him in because of this?
So I was going to answer that in the script that I didn't want to give away my dirty secret.
Yeah.
My answer is I don't know if I ever have taken him seriously.
It's fair.
Again, also knew he was in the movie, knew his lines. Everyone knows inconceivable. Like, I'm not blind to this movie. I just never start to finish for no real reason. Just it never happened. I don't know. Blind
Mm,
spot.
okay.
But yeah, no, it's. I mean, he's always in roles kind of like this that
That
I've
is
seen
true.
in other movies, at least.
The only other movie I remember offhand that he was in was My Dinner with Andre, which has nothing to do with Andre the Giant.
I wish it
Um,
did.
I know, right? It came out before this, and from what I remember, it's a movie where it's just two characters talking the whole time. Like the whole movie is dialogue, and it's supposed to be kind of artsy and serious. And it's really funny that then he went on to become famous for this,
Hmm.
having starred with Andre the Giant.
They could
But
have done an old spin off. We could have done like My Other Dinner with the other Andre.
yeah, That being said, I've always hated how mean he is to Fezzik, Andre's character.
He's mean to both of his hired help.
He is, but I just feel like he yells at Fezzik so much, especially when he's climbing up the rope, up the cliffs, and he's like, "You are supposed to be a colossus," and it's like, I don't
Yeah,
know. Have you seen him?
yeah. He does like what I call old school management,
Yeah,
and he motivates by nothing motivational at all.
yeah, just yelling.
Just yelling and threatening, like "I'm gonna fire you unless you climb faster."
I had forgotten about the rhyming game that Fezzik and Inigo play, and it cracks me up every time when they do that last bit as the ship's pulling away when he's like, "Anybody want a peanut?"
Yeah,
And
they
he,
don't do that again, do they? It's just on the boat the one time, or am I misremembering?
I think you're correct. I feel like they do maybe a little bit like later when he finds Inigo drunk,
Okay.
but I can't remember
Oh,
now.
you might be right.
Like to try to get him, back
Back.
around. Yeah.
I did like the rhyming game, A, for the silliness, like you said, and it comes right after Vicini is yelling at them both, and like he has this evil plan and all this stuff, and they're both looking kind of down because they're being
Mhm.
scolded by their boss man.
Boss. Yeah.
It shows their connection to each other, like they're kind of like uplifting and making each other happy. And even
Hmm.
though it's super quick, but it was a nice touch, I think. And I think
Yeah.
that's why Vincini gets even more mad and yells at him to stop the rhyming game, because he knows it's like their thing and he can't be a
Yes.
part of it. And like any good mean boss, he wants his employees to be sad so he can make them do what he
Hmm.
wants more. Yeah.
Yeah. And not to form bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because that'd be 2 versus 1. That's an uprising.
Yeah. Robin Wright had said in multiple interviews that I read where Andre the Giant was actually so protective of her and took such good care of her, especially when they were filming these scenes. She said they were in cold, wet environments a lot, and he would just stand with her and put his hands on her head to keep her warm. And because he was so big and his hands were so big, he could just like cover her with his hands and warm her up. Or if they were shooting something and they were between takes, if she didn't have a coat or anything nearby, he would give her his coat. But multiple people talked about him literally just putting his hands on her to warm her up.
That's crazy.
I know. We get to this scene where Buttercup tries to escape, but there are eels in the water. My son has watched this once and he doesn't remember it. He was only, I want to say 4-ish. I remember the eels scaring him so bad, but I think it's because of the shrinking. Like, the sound is pretty shrill.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the more fear of the unknown because it sounds pretty bad.
Yes. Mhm. It
And
does.
until he says it, so that it's the eels, like almost like they're, I don't know, they're warning or whatever. I thought the eels were eating somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
Like it sounds like they've already like found dinner and that person is shrieking because it's very painful.
I could see that, especially having
Yeah.
never seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Speaking of my son, like I said, he had seen this before, but he was so young, he doesn't remember it. I asked him if he wanted to watch this with me because I obviously had to watch it for this, and he was like, "Nah, it's okay." But he kept poking his head in and being like, "Oh, what's going on? Oh, like this looks interesting. Oh, what's happening here?" And then at the end, he was like, "Do you think we could watch that together sometime? Because like some of that looked pretty cool." And I just felt like he was going on the same trajectory as the Fred Savage character of like
Absolutely.
very
Absolutely.
slowly getting into it. Yeah.
Before the rhyming game and this escape attempt, Montoya is keeps looking behind him, and they're like, "What's going on?" It's like, "There's a boat." It's like, "Oh, it's coincidence." Blah blah blah. And then the next morning, the boat's much closer, and
Hmm.
he's like, "He's right on top of us. I wonder if he's using the same wind as us."
Yeah, I got that.
They're sailboats, guys. They're sailboats, so it's funny.
And then like my next note is he's still gaining on them, and Vicini says inconceivable, as he already has many times. And Inigo Montoya says, "You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means."
Yeah,
And I think it was at this point I texted you and I was like, are all our notes just going to be quotes from this movie? Because
yeah.
It is so quotable, but there are so many legitimately funny lines.
Yeah, this movie, I mean, it probably doesn't help that the main actor is the title character of the movie I'm going to mention. Reminds me a lot of the style of Robin Hood Men in Tights
Of
or other
course.
Mel Brooks movies. And obviously,
Mhm.
Rob Reiner has a funny bone. We see that in Spinal Tap.
Mhm.
Different sort of humor, but again, a lot of the subtle one liners.
Yeah, and it's funny that we bring all this up because there is an interview in Entertainment Weekly. Carrie Elways was being asked basically if he ever gets sick of people quoting the movie to him because he said people will all the time come up to him and say, "As you wish." Like, they'll just come up to him and say it and walk away. And he said that it'll be on my tombstone when I die. But he said that Wallace Shawn, who plays Vicini, has it worse because anytime he's out in public, people yell inconceivable at him. And it's really bad if he's just, I don't, if he does something in public, like drop his keys or something, people will yell inconceivable at him. Like if
Ugh.
he makes a mistake somehow in public. And Wallace Shawn confirmed this in various interviews too and said that it happens to him daily. And people always act like they're the first ones to ever have said that to him.
Oh, I can imagine that.
Yeah. Um, yes, I feel like Carrie always seemed to welcome it a bit more. I think Wallace Shawn is just tired at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had said the only thing on set was the grandson's room?
The only thing they use a studio for.
Studio for. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Because then on my next note, I was wondering if this was true or not. Because I said I love how the movie set looks.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think
Like it looks fake, but like purposely fake, not like we can't afford it to be fake. Like when they are sword fighting after they climb the mountain, it's like these
Mhm.
rocks. Everything looks cheesy, but in a like a if you were to write a cheesy movie set love letter. Like it doesn't look
Okay.
how I made fun of the Quiet Man cemetery scene, where
Okay.
it's supposed to be a serious,
Mhm.
romantic, also scary bit with the thunderstorm. This
Yeah.
is this gives me more like old Hollywood vibes, but
Yeah.
also because I think it's a grandfather reading a fairy tale. Like it looks fake. Like it's a
Yeah.
story. It's supposed to be whimsical and like it has a certain childlike playfulness to it that I really
Yeah.
enjoyed.
So they filmed everything on location, like they were actually outside, but I'm sure they placed, as you're saying, rocks and certain things around because they have to use them for their fights, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think some of it is fake, and we'll get into it in a bit too, but Andre the Giant also couldn't really lift anything while he was filming. He had back surgery, and so he couldn't. I'm sure lots of the objects he lifts were probably like not real rocks. They were probably,
Oh, right. Yeah.
light. But yeah, I think about that too, especially the well-placed bar that they flip on during the sword
Mm-hmm.
fight.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, yeah.
Like that scene specifically, all the other outdoor stuff looks like they're on location. The sword fight after the mountain climb just looks like a, I don't know, 1920s set for some reason. Just
It does
sand,
look
everything.
set up. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
that.
But speaking of that, after the other two run away with Buttercup, we're waiting for Montoya to have the masked man climb up to meet his death. And it's just
Yeah.
the conversation they have as he's climbing the mountain. And then they get really friendly sitting on a rock next to each other while he's catching his breath, getting ready for a sword fight. So it's very
Yeah.
chivalrous of Montoya, first of all, very
Mhm.
honorable, which I love.
Mhm.
But just the conversation they have, there's like getting to know each other. Like they're just
Yeah.
like sharing a coffee with each other or something.
Yeah, I know. I love it. They're so overly polite,
Yes.
and also it speaks to Inigo's sense of, I guess, fairness. Like he's
Hmm.
gonna let, this guy catch his breath, like you said, so it's more of a fair fight. But then he's also so excited to do the left hand thing, like he tells Vicini before they leave.
Yeah.
And I love when Vicini's like, "Stop with your tricks, like, we don't have time for
Yeah, we
this."
don't have time for this.
And then
Well,
they
it's
do the
cool.
same trick.
Yes, yeah. They do it to each other. Yeah, they
Mhm,
both start off left-handed, and then one switches, and then later the
mhm.
other switches.
Yeah.
It's this whole honor. We see that Montoya, he's only there because revenge doesn't make money, so he's definitely a hand
Right.
for hire.
Mhm,
And we get that a little bit later with Andre the Giant
mhm.
when they like the next scene after the sword fight. I don't want to get ahead too much, but like he also was like, "Yeah, I'm going to put down this giant rock I'm holding so we can fight fair." And it kind of just again with the rhyming game separates these two
Mhm.
from Vicini as like he's the actual bad guy, not the big bad for the
Yeah.
movie, but like in this current
In
sequence
this
to get
situation, yeah.
Buttercup. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wait a minute. They are bringing the princess over to the other land to kill. So it looks like they started a war, so they can start a war. Are they?
Mhm.
Is he hired by the prince?
Yes. We
Did
find
I
that
miss
out
that?
later. It's one line of dialogue, which we'll get to, that Humperdinck was like, "Yeah, I thought that was gonna do it, but, like, it's gonna be even better now because it'll be on our wedding night that she gets killed."
Okay.
We learned
Hmm.
this.
Maybe if I
Um
watch it more than once, I'll figure that out.
So this sword fight between Wesley and Inigo, which, yeah, I guess we don't know it's Wesley yet. Carrie Elwes and Mandy Patinkin both learned to fence with both hands for this movie. They spent all their free time practicing when they weren't filming on set. I think they also said they learned fencing for like a few months before its filming started.
Nice.
The fencing instructor was Bob Anderson, and the stunt coordinator was Peter Diamond. Both had trained the main actors for the original Star Wars trilogy, so they were considered like some of the best in the business. Carrie Elways and Mandy Patinkin got it into their heads that they should watch every sword fight movie ever, or like every sword fight ever put to film.
Okay.
And I feel like this loops into the whole like everyone hung out all the time, everyone had dinner together every night. So they said in an interview that their favorite sword fight of all time ended up being from this movie Scaramouche from 1952. The two actors doing the fight were Stuart Granger and Mel Ferrar. And I just wanted to point out that Janet Leigh is in this movie, Scaramouche, and her son in law is in The Princess Bride, playing the six-figured man.
Hmm.
Did you realize Christopher
That's
Guest is married to Jamie Lee Curtis?
yeah. That no, I
Okay.
realized before. I didn't. I've never seen Scaramouche, so
It also sounds like from some of the interviews that they were already together at this point because when they talk about everyone having dinner together, some of them have mentioned Jamie Lee Curtis being there.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Just hanging out.
Um, yeah, just hanging out. Go visit your spouse at work, and this is work.
Yeah. After our masked man
Hmm.
bests Montoya, also plays with chivalry and honor. He does not kill him; he just knocks him out.
Yes.
He catches up with the other two, and he has to fight the giants. And when he's approaching him, he's still has his very Zorro like mask on. Andre the
Hmm.
Giant's like, "Why are you wearing a mask? Were you bring with acid or something like that?" It's like, what a strange question. And then he responds, I didn't type this one out, but he responds like, "Oh, I find them comfortable and more people should wear them." Were you
Yes.
burned with acid or something like that? Why is that the first thing he thinks of? Did he also watch Batman Forever?
Yeah, so I was gonna point out that Carrie Elwes didn't use a stunt double for any of this. The only time they brought in a stunt double was for when they flip around the bar, which, like, I get it because
Yeah.
technically, like, in a safety sense, you need to use the professional, but it's so funny to me that, like, all the sword fighting was real, and they're like, "Oh, you gotta bring in the person to swing around this bar."
It makes sense.
Yeah, but this fight with Fezzik, like I said, Andre the Giant had back surgery like right before filming started. I was a little confused because there were also a lot of people saying he was in constant pain anyway due to his condition, acromegaly. which is basically excess growth hormone, which is why he was so big, but it causes a lot of discomfort. So either way, he couldn't support any weight. So all the shots we have of Wesley hanging on his back, they actually had Carrie Elway's standing on different size ramps to make it look like he was hanging on to him. I don't know if they use stunt doubles for the shots where you see Wesley hanging on him from behind, but even the few bits where Fezzik is carrying Buttercup, Robin Wright was actually suspended by cables because he couldn't even bear her weight.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And she confirmed that in a few interviews, saying that she only weighed something like 100 pounds at the time, and he, like, everyone was kind of surprised, right? Because it's Andre the Giant and he's a wrestler and he couldn't pick her up, but it was from all these back problems.
Which would explain why that match in Japan got canceled.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
It all worked out.
The next scene after Fezzik is defeated, again, chivalrous, he just knocks him out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dream of large women.
Yes.
The scene with Wesley and Vicini, where they're doing the poison, the battle of wits, that was the very first scene they filmed on the first day.
Oh,
And
wow.
this is where Wallace Shawn talked about completely freaking out. He said in an interview that his agent had thought it would be a good idea to tell him that Danny DeVito was originally going to have this part, but couldn't take it. And he was like, that was not a good idea because then the whole shoot, I had it in my head. How would Danny DeVito do this? They probably wish I was
Right.
Danny DeVito. Am I doing this as good as Danny DeVito would do it? So he said he was visibly nervous. He was so scared that he just wasn't going to be good enough for this role. And it's so funny looking back at that now because obviously, like, everyone quotes him, everyone thinks of him as being in this movie. And also just like we talk about this being such a goofy kind of story, it's like he fits right in. Like even
Yeah.
the visual of him, like his size, his lisp, but it's just funny looking back at this, like knowing now that he had such imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I hope he fired his agent. That's kind of.
Yeah.
He literally got in his own head because of the agent.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
that's kind of lame.
I think he was also worried that they just needed a short person and they weren't necessarily casting him based on his acting abilities, which again,
Right.
he's so funny. Like, I don't know how.
Well, between the fact that his agent said Danny DeVito was going to do it, but then he couldn't, like,
Hmm.
I wouldn't be upset if he's like, oh, they were looking at someone like Danny DeVito, but not like, oh,
Hmm.
they picked him and then he bailed. So, like, you're the second choice.
Yeah.
That stings. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think he's as short as Danny DeVito, but he's definitely not a
Hmm.
big guy. But if you
Hmm.
knew anything about the search for the Giants character when they couldn't get Andre originally, that might
Yep.
also, like you said, be in his head, like, oh, they just need somebody of a small stature. Like,
Right.
oh, tough. I feel bad for him.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Danny DeVito being in this role?
I can totally see that though, and
Hmm.
not just
Yeah.
because short guy versus tall guy.
Yes.
Just the lines. Just and again, I'm thinking of this poison scene. I could see DeVito doing that. I mean, he has a range of crazy characters from the Penguin to
Hmm.
God, Taxi. I'm thinking of at the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Twins with Arnold. That'd be
With
hilarious if
Yeah.
Arnold and Danny were in this movie together.
Yeah. That would be.
Um, so I can see it. Danny plays crazy pretty well in this scene with his crazy laugh that he does.
I could see that, yeah. Say I was imagining the scenes where Vicini is yelling at the other two. I was thinking of Danny DeVito doing the voice of that trainer in Hercules when he's yelling in Hercules.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. I always I always think of him saying never get involved in a land war in Asia.
Yeah, wait, what?
I don't know why. Because obviously I have so much experience with both land wars and Asia.
He's knocked out some bad guy. I love how he knocks out the henchman, but poisons the leader. Like he seemed like he had
Hmm.
qualms murdering the other two, He could have, at least Montoya.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, I'm just going to straight up poison this guy to death.
Visini was an asshole, though. Like, I kind of get it.
Sure, yeah.
And also, it was just the nature of, they weren't going to physically fight, so
Yeah.
this was the option. I always think about him laughing and then abruptly falling over.
Yeah, that was great.
I literally remember when my son watched this, he was like, wait, what? And he's like, it's really funny watching it, like, well, watching it with someone who has never seen it before.
You're
But,
welcome.
yeah. But eventually we get to this part where Wesley and Buttercup are arguing because she doesn't know that it's Wesley, and Wesley thinks that she's just moved on from their relationship and she's marrying, what is it, like her big fiance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, it's so funny to me now, like when you think about it, that they don't even know what a bad guy he really is. So he's just like hurling insults. Your big fiance. What's so bad about him at this point? We don't know.
Well, we, as the audience, in a fairy tale like setting, as this is, and as grandson mentions, like, no, she can't marry him. Like, we
Right,
want
that's true.
the good guy and the good girl to get together. And yeah, maybe the prince isn't bad that we know of. I mean, he comes across kind of stuffy. Well, also at this point, they're tracking them down, and it doesn't seem like he was tracking her down because he loved her.
Yeah.
Like, after every fight, they're like right behind them. Like, oh, look, he went this way. Two thoughts before we move on, though.
Yes.
One, I will say, being my first watch, that when the masked man, aka Farm Boy, aka Wesley, when he's doing the wine and the poison, which note on that, I love it's like, you can't best me physically, you can't best me mentally, I'm gonna try. Let's pour some wine. Like, I love this thought mentality. You know what? Let's have a wine about it. But because of all the honor we see the previous two bouts, when he turned his back, I mean, obviously we don't want to see what wine glass he pours the poison in. And the fact that you couldn't tell by smell what it was, I actually thought he didn't poison him. So, like, the laugh and I knew obviously he was dead, but I kind of pulled a moment like your son did, like, oh, that just happened. Okay, wow, he actually did poison him. So because of the other two non-murders, I actually thought he was just either dumping it out or it's just like, I don't know, sugar. Something like he wouldn't kill him either way and somehow trick him into something else.
I can see that.
Thought two was the whole time when they're tracking them and you have the prince and what we'll learn to be the six-finger man. I thought that relationship was weird because what is Christopher Guest's character doing? Like, the prince is literally doing all the work. Like, I figured in most stories, like, the bad king or bad prince seems to be very spoiled. And they don't literally lift a finger for anything.
Right.
And the prince in this story, he's not even on horseback. He's like digging in the dirt. He's like, oh, there was a fight and they did this and they did that and they went this way. And usually in these kind of stories, they have like a hired gun who, and we'll see later, like the leader of I guess his army is kind of like that. But yeah, I for a second I was confused. I'm like, did I miss something? Is the other guy the prince? I'm like, no, the prince is the one doing all the hard work. That's different.
Yeah, that is a good point. Usually the other guy is there to do the actual stuff. Yeah, I think that the six-fingered man is just his partner in bad stuff.
This is like
muscle.
Like
then we see him doing the torture and everything later.
Yeah.
But yes, the six-fingered man and her pig fiance.
Yeah, what a team.
But anyway, this leads us to, Buttercup pushing Wesley down the hill, finally realizing he's Wesley because he says, as you wish, very drawn out as he rolls down the hill. It kills me every time I watch this, even though I know it's coming. The way she just also launches herself down the hill.
Yes, I thought that was hilarious. This scene in particular, like, gave me Mel Brooks vibes.
I was just gonna say the same thing. This was the closest I got to Mel Brooks vibes for sure.
Because he's distracted. He's like trying to like bait her to either admit that she's moved on or that she hasn't. and he
Yeah.
hasn't revealed himself yet. And he turns around to see the other people who are tracking them, and she's like, "Oh,
Yes.
you can die now," and pushes him.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, "All right, I'm going to save my own self here,"
Yep.
which is like a weird thing. She thinks he's trying to go after her to kill her because he literally just saved her from the people trying to kill her. But anyway,
Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder what she thought was happening here. She's just getting kidnapped constantly.
he was under the guise of being the pirate, so I guess maybe, yeah.
That's true. She did
But
think he was the pirate.
the as you wish going down the hill cracked me up, and then she's like, "Oh shit, that's my boo," and then just dives down the hill. Like, that was very much a Mel Brooks moment, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And like you had mentioned before, Carrie Elwes is in Robin Hood Men in Tights as Robin Hood, which is a Mel Brooks movie. I watched that all the time as a kid. I saw that before I saw The Princess Bride. So to
Same.
me, Carrie but so to me, Carrie Elwes is always from Robin Hood Men in Tights.
100%.
Okay, so speaking of Humperdinck and what is Christopher Guest's character's name? Rugen? Is it he's the six-fingered man? I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
Brugge, something like that.
so while Wesley and Mandy Patinkin were doing sword fighting, Chris Sarandon and Christopher Guest had to learn how to ride horses, and they were both terrified of their horses. Chris Sarandon said in an interview that he was given a huge black stallion named Fury, and he said they couldn't have given me one named Powder Puff or Donut. So he was scared because he had never really ridden horses. Christopher Guest also just had a very large horse and was nervous about it, but his horse actually ran away at some point when they were trying to film this scene because they were in costume, and it just kept going faster and faster and he couldn't stop it, and he was just like, okay, like we're just going to run into something eventually and he'll like give out. But it turned out that the sword, like he had his, sword sheathed, and it was bouncing on the horse, and every time the horse felt that, he thought it was a cue to go faster.
Right.
So he was like, okay, great, how do we like solve this? Because-
Yeah.
and no answer was found in the research. But both the Chris's had a hard time, I guess, with their
Hmm.
animals. Also, did you realize that Chris Sarandon's also the voice of Jack Skellington?
No.
Yeah. I think I knew that like a really long time ago, but I always forget that Jack Skellington is also Prince Humperdinck.
Hmm.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, he looked familiar, and I don't know. He just has like I'm sure I've seen other movies with him in it, but he has this very generic bad prince look.
Yes. Hmm.
Like, already, I feel like he's in other movies. Like, he's probably the bad boyfriend in something, and he probably still has
Yeah.
his coif of hair. And
Hmm.
but Christopher Guest threw me off because I again only think of him in Spinal Tap, and he looks almost
Right.
like oh, what's his real name? Paul Rubin. He looks like Paul Rubin in this
Hmm.
movie, like Paul Rubin in real
Yeah.
life, not Paul Rubin as Pee Wee.
Yeah.
It's
Get
just
that.
the way his goatee is, his hair, like he was like hidden from me for a while. So after our heroes take a Jack and Jill tumble, they
Hmm.
escape into a forest like swamp, the fiery swamp that looks like a dense wood. I was
Yeah, I
confused
was
by the
gonna
name.
say it is. They're literally running into a forest, but it's called the Fire Swamp.
Fireballs that happen.
Yes, there's
Um,
swampiness.
yeah, there's some swampiness.
Hmm.
There's like three bad things in the swamp that it's known for, but the part I wanted to talk about, the rodents of unusual size.
Yes.
Uh, that's clearly just a man on all fours, like a full-grown man in a costume. And again, in another situation, this would be so bad because it doesn't look great.
Right.
But there are parts of this movie that reminded me very much of Neverending Story because there are not
Mm.
the best, I don't know, costuming, or it's very clear that, like, okay, we're just going to slap this on it and we're going to just make believe because the
Hmm.
idea is make believe. And when you have that almost meta fairy tale, like we're acknowledging it's a fairy tale, it works for me. Like
Yeah.
anything could be. I mean, it can't look too shoddy, but like we can get
Right.
away with a few things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also laughed when it attacked him, even though it wasn't funny, because as this comedy reminds me of other comedies, I couldn't help but think of the rabbit attack in Holy Grail. It's just the way it
Yeah.
like jumps at his neck, his shoulder
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Um, and then my follow up thought was, I can only imagine the kind of rabies you get from rodents of unusual size.
That's
The fact
true.
that he lived
Yes.
through all that was remarkable.
Yep. My personal favorite bit in the fire swamp is when Wesley pulls them both out of the quicksand. It's just that great hero shot of him, like,
Hmm.
rising from the sand. Also, I always think about how they literally have just found each other again after 5 years. And I guess he finally believes that she didn't just move on or whatever and forget about him. And then they just have to live through like one threat after another.
Well, that's what you do for true love.
I guess so, yeah.
They get caught,
Hmm.
and now the revealed Wesley is supposed to be let free because Buttercup sacrificed herself to be taken back with the prince.
Hmm.
And really, they're just going to go torture him with this weird device. There's this character, the albino,
Hmm.
which is, I guess, kind of like a. It's kind of like the albino reminds me of like Igor
I was
in a
just gonna say
Frankenstein
like an
film.
Igor, yeah.
And like he comes down these steps, and Wesley's like tied up to whatever a slab of rock before they
Hmm.
experiment on
Hmm.
him. It's like this close up of the albino, and he has this like really off putting, crazy sounding voice. And they just like, so anyway, and he has like a slightly deeper than normal voice. And I thought that was great. I
Yeah.
laughed pretty hard at that.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen that in other films, so I can't say if this is just being replicated or replicated something else, but it worked either
Yeah.
way. And I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sorry, now I'm just thinking of Young Frankenstein because you said Igor.
Sorry, my
It's
bad.
okay. It's okay. All the references. I always thought in this dream sequence that Buttercup has, where you think for a second she's actually married Humperdinck, her crown is enormous.
Hmm.
I mean, his is too, but I feel like you notice it more on her head, like how big this is. But we both wrote down the same line when Fred Savage is getting all like, Grandpa, what do you mean? What do you mean she married Humperdinck? She can't marry him. She has to marry Wesley. And then, it's revealed that Buttercup is having a dream. And he's like, oh, I knew it. And the grandfather says, yes, you're very smart. Shut up.
Yeah.
I love this bit though afterward when the six-fingered man is walking to the torture chamber. I can't say that. I don't know what
I know.
my
Yeah, it's
problem
hard.
is. And he invites Humperdinck to come watch him torture Wesley, and Humperdinck rattles off that to-do list he has of, I have my wedding to plan, I have my wife to murder.
Yeah.
I'm swamped. When Wesley is first tortured with this machine, it's still to this day, I don't really understand what's happening to him. They're sucking like years off of his life or something,
With
um,
water pressure?
with water pressure.
Well,
Um,
like they show like a would be dam,
mhm,
a smaller one, like to the size of this contraption, but it opens
yes.
up and water comes rushing through. And then, but they say it's like, I honestly thought this is like going to be the first example of waterboarding. I had no idea where this is going. And they have these like suction cups on his temples and chest and belly. But like, and it's like, oh, it's sucking the life out of you. I'm like, where's this? Why are we so shut out of the water? What's going on with the water? I don't know. We just have to believe that it's again fairy tale, some sort of evil wizardry is happening. I imagine.
Mhm. And I always felt like it must be really bad considering, we see through the whole rescue of Buttercup that Wesley's, gone through 5 years of training basically for any situation. Like he's built up a resistance to this poison. He can
Right.
So he can I almost feel like he can do anything, like he's ready for any situation, and then this breaks him. So it must be bad. But I always think of this scene like when I'm having a bad day, the way that they ask Wesley, "Okay, so how was it? I'm gonna record this for posterity." And Wesley just quietly weeps.
Yeah.
And I think of this all the time, like when things are going wrong, or like I said, if I have a bad day, "How was your day?" And just I think of Wesley weeping in The Princess Bride.
I like how scientific the Six Finger Man is about this whole process. He's like, this is new to me. I need to this is for science, so let me know how you feel. Is this working?
Yes.
For next time. How can I
Yep.
improve this torture?
So we eventually get to a point where I believe they say they sucked away 1 year of Wesley's life in this scene, and
Mm-hmm.
then Humperdinck gets really mad, I guess because Buttercup doesn't wanna marry him, I don't know. I guess, like, I'm surprised that he cares so much considering she was just a prop anyway, but
Right.
I don't know. It's a fragile man. So he goes and, turns the machine up to 50 or something, and
Yep.
I basically think of my son, like, getting so excited, like, increasingly getting excited about this movie when the grandson is like, "Wait, no, you misspoke. He's not dead." Like,
Right.
"No, no, he's not dead. Like, no, you read that wrong." And I just love how into it this kid gets.
Mm-hmm.
And the grandpa being like, "Oh, oh, this book you didn't wanna read?"
Yes. But yeah, he's dead. He dead.
Yep. He's mostly dead. But that brings us to the scene with Billy Crystal and Carol Kane. Do you have any thoughts on this since you hadn't seen it before I get into, like, the background of this scene?
It was funny because, it's Carol Kane and Billy Crystal, obviously.
Mhm.
I knew of the scene of them in makeup because, again, it's huge. It's pop culture. I know what these
Yeah,
characters look
yeah.
like. I know some of the lines. The way Valerie is introduced, like as Magic Max is like, "No, I'm retired," blah 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 blah. She just comes running out shouting at him. He's
Yeah,
like, "It's like, be quiet, you witch! I'm not a witch. I'm your wife."
yeah. I know. It's great.
I laughed so hard at that, and my wife was watching it with me because she loves this movie, and
Mhm.
she like watched the whole thing with me. And I looked at her, and she's like, "What?" I was like, "You're not a witch. You're my wife." She's like, she got all mad at me. I'm like, "I said you're not a witch."
I
I
said
guess that wasn't the
not.
right move. Yeah. Whoops.
I do love that Magic Max is finally convinced to save him because of revenge.
Right.
And because they're like, "No, he said true love." He's like, "No."
Yeah.
So Billy Crystal and Carol Kane, like, met a lot before filming to work on the backstory for these characters. Rob Reiner let them improvise a lot of the lines. The mutton, lettuce, tomato line was ad-libbed. Apparently, Rob Reiner had to walk away because he couldn't stop laughing and he was ruining the shot.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Mandy Patinkin said that it was really hard for him to film this scene because he was trying so hard not to laugh. And I had went back and watched the scene to see if I could pick up on any of this because he said this, and Carrie Elways was trying really hard not to laugh because he's supposed to be dead, like he can't move. And
Right.
Billy Crystal said he remembered specifically Carrie Elways trying so hard not to react to the lines, to the jokes, because especially with them ad-libbing so much, you didn't know what was going to come out. So I went back to rewatch this scene to see if I could catch like either of you know, the background actors, so to speak, if they slipped up. And I just got so into it. I was watching Max and Valerie the whole time. I forgot why I had even rewound the movie. So they definitely steal the scene, we'll say that. But have fun storming the castle. That's also Billy Crystal came up with that on the spot, which I feel like that's maybe the line from this that gets repeated the most, like from this scene.
Hmm.
Although Billy Crystal said that anytime people see him at a restaurant and recognize him, they'll ask him if the button's really lean. They'll
Yeah, I
do
mean,
the MLT thing.
MLT.
Yeah.
I'd eat that.
It doesn't sound awful. Billy Crystal had a quote in an interview. He said, "There should be a Max and Valerie movie. Start a Twitter thing. We want more Max and Valerie. Now we won't need as much makeup."
Ha, because they're old. I get it.
Yep. Carol Kane did say that when she gets recognized on the street for this role, she was like, "What does that say about me, like physically?"
I mean, Billy Crystal looks more covered up, Like he's got, I
Mhm.
think, like a almost like elfish ears and nose.
Yeah, you're right.
And I don't know, Carol King, she just has a presence. Like
Yeah.
when she entered the scene, it's like I knew it was her right away.
Yeah, I
And
think
she
it's her
has
voice.
yes, exactly what I was gonna say. It's a very
Mhm.
particular voice that she has. If I think of her, the first thing I think of is Scrooged as Ghost of Christmas
Oh,
Past,
yeah. Mhm.
but also like lots of other things she's in. But that's the
Of
first image
course,
that pops
yeah.
in my head.
That's yeah. Um, I was wondering why they don't give Wesley the pill immediately. Why do they leave
Yeah,
Magic Max and, like, wait till they're on the wall of the castle?
yeah. It's like this is gonna take a while, so whatever. Wait an hour before swimming. Like okay, let's wait an hour before we give it to him,
Yep.
and then he's like useless for this whole raid.
I guess you need the funny scene of them trying to lift Wesley up to, like, see what they're working with.
Mm-hmm.
It is very funny.
Yeah, I know. It does seem like a minor plot hole.
Yeah.
Guys, just you're at the doctor's office. He gave you the pill. Take the pill.
Yeah. I do like when Wesley is slowly getting, some movements back and Fezzik's so excited for him, like he's watching his kid start to walk.
Yeah, like you said, maybe it's all for comedic purposes, but
Mhm.
he does wake up instantaneously.
Yes.
He's like, "What's going on? Where have I been? And
Yeah.
why can't I move my arms?" And Andre's like, "You've been mostly dead all day." Like, oh, that explains it. Thank you.
Yeah, I also like when Fezzik and Inigo hear him screaming from, like, the really bad torture, the turning it up to 50 torture, and they're like, "Oh, it's the sound of a man whose true love is marrying another." Like, which,
Right.
yes, true, because, like, it's a big deal, but especially in this movie, but also, like, the torture.
Yeah,
Torture helps.
that's not why he's currently screaming, sir.
Yeah. This scene at the wedding with this clergyman who can't speak properly, like, everyone thinks about this when they go to a wedding, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the
Even for people who
Mawage.
haven't seen the movie.
Yes.
Um, real life story. I have a friend that I have known since kindergarten, believe it or not. And we went to her wedding, and they had the wedding officiant not only dress up as the impressive clergyman, but
Yeah.
did the whole spiel
Oh,
in
wow.
like in with the speech impediment. I think she had like cotton balls in her mouth, almost like Godfather style, to kind of like
That's
get that.
funny to get
Yeah,
it, yeah.
and I knew what it was even then.
Yep. When we were planning our wedding, my husband and I were like we were just really overwhelmed trying to find a location that wasn't crazy expensive that could also seat everyone we wanted to invite. And there was a point where I remember we were just throwing our arms up and being like, we should elope or we should just do this. Like, I'm so tired of this. And at one point, my husband's like, we should get the guy from the Princess Bride to marry us with that, like, speech impediment he has. And we were like, yes, we will elope. And instead of Elvis, we will have the guy from the Princess Bride.
Stefan Elvis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they come up with a plan
Hmm.
to storm the gate. There's 60 people instead of 30, which is kind of some sort of magic number. They thought they each take on 10 guys, I suppose. And now Wesley is like, still mostly dead, even though he's conscious. They come up with
Right.
this crazy plan, and it works. They scare him off with like making Andre the Gianter.
Yeah, I know.
I think catching him on fire.
Oh, yes.
So very terrifying.
Yes.
Most people run away. They end up fighting the rest, and they get to the gate, and there's only one guy that has the key, which is like the main guardsman, or I don't know his role in the movie, but
Mhm.
basically like the other guy the prince trusts besides the six-finger guy.
Yeah.
And they're threatening him. He's like, "We need the gate keys." Gate key? I have no gate key. Fezzik, tear his arms off. Oh, you mean this gate key?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
so quick. And again, it gives me that like Spaceballs, Robin Hood Men in Tights kind of
Mhm.
dialogue.
Yeah, definitely. I was just gonna say the same thing.
I
Okay.
don't know what's going on in the scene. Uh, she,
It's after the
but
wedding, they're, like, walking back to their
okay,
rooms. Yeah.
yeah. Buttercup's looking very distraught. Yeah, but she's walking arm in hand with the prince's dad, the king. And the
Hmm.
king is a very sweet man, and she tells him such and like thanks him for his kindness, kisses him on the cheek. And he's a very old looking guy. He's speaking very
Yeah.
soft. I believe his wife, the queen, is walking ahead of them, or somebody
Hmm.
is. When she kisses him on the cheek, he gets all lively. He's like, she kissed me, and then it just
Yeah.
cuts. Ugh.
I just think of him as being kind of senile. Like he's not all there.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's why it's funny, which I guess kind of sounds bad.
Yeah. I know. So we eventually get to a point where, Wesley and Buttercup reunite. They tie up Prince Humperdinck to a chair, which is very like that gets solved like very easily. Like the Wesley basically threatens him, and I do like the bit where you think Wesley's not going to get out of the bed, but he has just enough strength to like rise up and tell the prince to drop his sword. But when that's going on, Inigo Montoya finally gets his six-fingered man. But this whole sword fight, first of all, Christopher Guest got stabbed in the leg by the
Oh,
sword. They were not made of actual steel because that would be too heavy, I guess. Christopher Guest said in an interview that people must have been like mountain men back in those days because he's like, we used carbon swords and it was heavy enough. But still they were pointy and just slip up happened. He got stabbed in the leg during one of the rehearsals. But then when they were actually filming this, he said he got so into it, Christopher Guest did, that I'll just read the quote. I was so into it. I was making the sound of the sword hitting another sword. I was doing the when the swords clash because that's what you do when you're a kid. Rob said, "Cut. You don't need to do that. We're going to put in the sound of the swords later." But it sounded like Christopher Guest didn't even realize he was doing it. He was just so excited.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. That was, I think, one of the favorite things that I learned doing research on this. Again, I've seen this movie a million times. Obviously, like we have said, you notice different things when you're taking notes. And this is such a silly movie, but I was struck at how powerful this scene is.
Hmm.
And I really like how he fakes out this six-fingered man is like, promise me anything I want, and then just says that he wants his father back. Like, it's very satisfying.
Yeah,
Do you have any thoughts having never seen this before?
I knew he was gonna kill
Well, yes.
him. So, it just how fragile both Six Finger Man and Humperdinck
Yes.
are. Like the second there's like he like literally pulls himself out of bed, raises his sword, is like drop your sword. Now he does give in great detail all the bad things he's going to do to the prince, and then when he
Yes.
stands up, the prince is like, all right, I guess I'm not calling your bluff, and then just like
Yeah.
lets the princess tie him up,
Mhm.
and then in this sword fight, the count has already stabbed him. He like ran ahead and threw a knife at his belly. So he's already like bleeding a little bit, probably in a lot of pain.
Mhm.
Stabs him a couple other times as he's like recovering from the knife wound. And then the second he's I mean, I feel like he could come back in this right before he gets murdered. Like he just like pokes him and is like, "Oh, you can have anything you want." It's like I feel like you can still fight this guy. Like he is bleeding from multiple spots, including his stomach. He's like, "Oh yeah, you can have money and power," and
Mhm.
also besides the revenge part, I don't think Matoya is going to believe him because he's a bad guy and he's going to go
Right,
against whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, so like he's just going to kill him.
Of
But it
course,
was
yeah.
so. I mean, the whole movie moves quick, yeah, but it just seems so quick to resolve these final conflicts.
I always think about that with the prince at least, because like you
Yeah,
said, he's just like, "Oh, okay," and he just goes and sits down. And I
yeah,
always think it's so funny the way I don't know what the clothing actually is, but he has kind of a skirt kind of thing. It might be like from a cloak, but he just sort of like picks it up so he doesn't sit on it, like to still be concerned about something like that. It's very funny to me. But so we get to our last scene. Everyone's the good guys are safe. Robin Wright said in multiple interviews I read that she was so nervous to film that kissing scene, which is the very last scene of, Buttercup and Wesley. I think they're on horses. I could be wrong. But she said she thought Carrie Elways was very cute. These are her words. And she was worried that you could see how nervous she was, that she felt like her heart was beating out of her chest. In other interviews, she said that he was gorgeous and he was the blonde Zorro.
I mean, definitely in this movie, he's a blonde Zorro for sure.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, so the end.
Done.
So when The Princess Bride was released, it grossed 30.8 million on a 16 million budget. So you wouldn't say it was a flop, but it didn't do that well. It actually did really well with critics. Not that that's necessarily, an arbiter for what movies are going to stand the test of time, because we've seen them be wrong about things before. But it really played well. And I'll read this quote from Rob Reiner that the studio didn't know how to market it. So I feel like with the critical response, it's like if you could get people to actually go see it, they enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll just read this from Rob Reiner. The studio never knew how to market it. We literally never had a trailer. They tried to sell it like a zany comedy. I remember having this conversation with Barry Diller, who was the head of Fox at the time. I was screaming at him. I said, Barry, I don't want to have a Wizard of Oz, because when the Wizard of Oz came out, it was a disaster. Nobody liked it and it didn't do well. I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, Rob, don't let anybody ever hear you say that. You would be so happy to have a Wizard of Oz. He was right, of course. It takes time sometimes for these kinds of oddball movies to find an audience.
I want my own Wizard of Oz.
I know, right? First of all, I had no idea that The Wizard of Oz didn't do well on its initial release.
I don't think I did either. This quote's funny, though, because when we queued it up to watch last night, if there's sometimes an option to watch a trailer, I'll click it, and there was a trailer option. So I said, okay, click the trailer. It's just the rope climbing scene. I mean, I stopped it like a third of the way through because I realized this is not a trailer. This is clearly a cut together scene with music and everything. But yeah, it was a trailer. It was not.
Yeah, the fact that they didn't even cut a trailer for it is like insane to me.
Yeah.
But I also feel like that lends more credence to my theory that it would have done better if they could have figured out a way to get people to go see it. I also don't really understand what is so hard about selling it as like a funny fairy tale, like a fractured fairy tale kind of thing. I don't know why they struggled with this so much exactly.
I feel like they were probably afraid if they cut a trailer, my guess would be, do we include the storytelling part? Like, if we do, it's probably going to shoehorn us into people thinking this is a children's movie, specifically.
Mm.
If they go too far into Wesley Buttercup, is it just a romance movie? Are we going to get rid of some other target audience that way? Are the young kids going to think it's too much of a kissy movie? And that one, like, I guess they just probably didn't know who their audience was going to be. So they didn't know how to manipulate the trailer thusly.
Maybe. I just find it so interesting that like a studio this big,
right,
that they were like, the best solution is no marketing.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like, cut something together. Like,
something, yeah.
Get some people behind it. I mean, they made double their money, so at least, what's his name? Lear?
Norman Lear. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at least Norman Lear, I was assuming, pocketed some of that money, got his money back.
Yeah. But like you said, at least cut something. How many movies have we seen not do well initially because their trailers sort of misrepresented what the actual movie was, misrepresented the genre or whatever? People would say they didn't really understand what they were getting into when they went to see it. And then they end up sometimes, doing better on home video release or streaming or whatever.
Right.
So even if you did kind of misrepresent it, it's not like that hasn't stopped you before.
Right, and still it's better than nothing.
Well, right.
Like, the movie just hits the theater and everyone's like, what's this? Oh, I didn't know that was coming out.
Right, exactly. So despite all this, the song "Storybook Love" was nominated for Best Original Song at the Oscars. I guess I never really knew they had an original song in The Princess Bride. I just remember, like, music, not songs with lyrics.
Yes,
Um,
same.
Maybe I never paid attention. William Goldman and Rob Reiner liked each other enough that they went on to work on "Misery" together, which came out in 1990.
Another
Um,
great fantasy love story.
right? Exactly. So, from what I can understand, it sounds like The Princess Bride definitely found more popularity on home video. There seem to be some conflicting ideas from the cast and Rob Reiner about why it's become this classic. Most everyone agrees it was kind of a cult classic at first, like when it first came out on home video. But then Carrie Elwes gave an interview where he said about 10 years after the release, he kind of started noticing people quoting the movie to him and coming up to him and saying how much they liked it. And, he thinks it was a combination of home video and there was enough time to kind of discover the movie too. Enough time had passed that more people had seen it, word of mouth had grown. He says he thinks part of the reason it's so successful now is he called it a family movie, but also the great script, lots of quotable lines. And it seems like everyone usually has some sort of similar explanation, but also this kind of nebulous idea of it was just the magic of the right people coming together at the right time. And I don't think that's entirely untrue because you do have this like amazing cast where we saw that you needed very specific people for certain roles and they actually managed to find all of that.
Right. The math kind of works there, at least for this quote from Carrie Elves or Elwes.
Mhm.
Elves. Carrie Elves.
Stop.
Samhain.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yep.
So yeah, Carrie's quote, the math kind of makes sense though. It says about 10 years where he personally noticed. You said the first time you think you saw it was for high school
Like
at a,
middle
yeah,
school-ish.
which
Mhm.
would be 97, 98.
Oh
10
yeah,
years
that would
after.
be
That
You're
sounds
right.
about right. Hmm.
Wow. If only I had seen Carrie Elwes out in the wild to go tell him.
The wild.
Just a few like weird stories I heard that I included. Chris Sarandon, who played Humperdinck, said, I was in Salt Lake City recently. I met the Attorney General of Utah. He said, did you know that in every home in Utah, there is a video, a DVD, and a Blu ray of The Princess Bride? It's the most popular movie in the state of Utah.
What?
Yeah, he said something about, well, all the Mormons, it's just like a wholesome family movie. And I was like, okay, I don't know.
Hmm.
That's what I mean. I don't feel like any of the actors necessarily nailed it. I think it's just a combination of things,
They're all right separately.
right? And not saying that this isn't family friendly, because I would say for the most part, sure. But yeah, when my son was younger and we thought about like all watching a movie together, this just wasn't front of mind
Hmm.
for me. But I guess yes, it is a family friendly movie. Carrie Elwes said that he once met Bill Clinton and Bill Clinton just started quoting the movie to him.
So weird.
I know. And and he was like, "I know who you are. Like that's my favorite movie of all time." And I assume, it sounds like Carrie always gets this a lot. Like he said, "As You Wish" is going to be on his tombstone. But if the president of the United States just randomly starts quoting The Princess Bride to you, I think it's safe to assume he knows who you are.
Well, right. It's
Yeah.
just a weird situation.
I know.
Like what's what context were they meeting? Is it at the White House? Did they bump into each other at a bar? Because
I
like
know, right?
only one of those situations seem appropriate to start quoting a movie at the actor. Well, actually, I would take that back because I feel like the actors hate this, but
Hmm.
one's a little more dressed down, where it would be appropriate to like kind of
Right.
fanboy, I guess,
Yeah.
being one of the people being the president. So it's just
Right.
weird.
Carrie Elwes released a book in 2014 titled As You Wish: Inconceivable Tales from the Making of the Princess Bride. I did read this. Okay, I remember it being very funny. There's basically a lot of stories from filming, like that story about Andre the Giant passing out in the hotel.
Sure.
And then he has bits from Rob Reiner and other cast members sharing their memories too. So I think it's totally worth reading if you like this movie. I read it on my Kindle when my son was a newborn. So I'm going to say that's why I did not remember a lot of the book.
Sure. Yeah.
um, I was sleep deprived. Also, I feel like as an ebook, the layout wasn't as great because like you have those bits interspersed from like, other people's memories. So I'd rather reread this, but also as a physical book. In 2016, it was added to the National Film Registry of the Library of Congress. And we've said before, this is for not necessarily the best films, but the films that they have deemed to be culturally significant or important in some way. And in 2000, readers of Total Film magazine voted The Princess Bride the 38th greatest comedy film of all time. I believe it also made some of the AFI lists. I think the love story list. But we have some failed sequel attempts if you would like to discuss those.
Sure. So, Mr. Moneybags, King Lear over here, Norman Lear, he gave an interview to Variety in 2019, and he
Hmm.
said that, quote, very famous people whose names I won't use wanted to remake this movie.
Hmm.
Obviously, there were a lot of people on the internet being mad and outraged. This is, my favorite childhood movie. How could you do this? Hollywood runs
Hmm.
out of, we've heard all this before.
Hmm.
I remember reading something about this then and thinking, keep in mind what I said at the top of the show, but I remember thinking, but why?
Yeah.
Like, never seen it in its entirety, at least, and going, this is a bad idea. But then
Hmm.
thinking, oh God, I gotta watch this movie before they remake it. Gary Elwes said
Hmm.
on Twitter, there's a shortage of perfect movies in this world. It would be a pity to damage this one.
Which is a riff on his line from the movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then Jamie Lee Curtis, who, as you mentioned,
Hmm.
is Christopher Guest's wife, stated there is only one The Princess Bride, and it's William Goldman and Reiner's.
Hmm.
That's kind of sweet.
Yeah. I'm like, agreed.
But, we could remake Halloween 1,000 times, and she's cool with that.
Right.
It's different. It's different. It's
Interesting.
different.
Different. Hmm.
There was a, we'll say, quote unquote, remake that aired on Quibi of The
Hmm.
Princess Bride.
Hmm.
It involved a lot of various celebrities playing the roles. And it was during the pandemic. They're all in isolation, so they're all like filming themselves doing
Hmm.
whatever lines they're doing.
Hmm.
Part of the ensemble cast was Rob Reiner. He played the grandfather for some of it. And then
Hmm.
his father, Carl Reiner, also played the grandfather to his own son.
Hmm.
And what is kind of touching here is the film was dedicated to his memory as he had died days later.
Carl Reiner, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't remember this. I mean, it definitely sounds like something that would have happened during the pandemic. I remember watching various things like when Parks and Rec did a reunion during the pandemic and they all
Oh,
pretended
yeah.
to be on Zoom. I remember the existence of Quibi because that was specifically supposed to be short form streaming.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Yeah, it didn't last very long.
It was a short run.
Ah, yes. So I do kind of want to look this up now and see if I can find it anywhere because this came up in my research too. It sounds like there were a ton of celebrities involved. I think they had to film them as like short bits because of the nature of Quibi. And so I think
Yeah,
that's why like various people played various roles. I read something that Whoopi Goldberg played the woman who boos Buttercup during the dream sequence, and I feel like that sounds very funny.
I read that too.
Yeah.
I can't say if this sounds familiar to me or not. I just think during that time, a bunch of stuff like this was happening, like you said, Parks and Rec,
Yes.
and it just kind of, I don't know, it fell under the radar because everyone was doing something like that because most people were stuck at home and like, no, we and 10 other people can do recreate this movie on Quibi. Like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people were trying to find some sort of social outlet slash entertainment, whether
Yeah,
it's
of
for others or
course.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then finally, I have here that on September 13th, 2020, most of the original cast members took part in a virtual live read through of the Princess Bride script, Princess Bride Reunion, to support the Democratic Party of Wisconsin.
That feels random.
Yeah.
Like the fundraiser part, the Democratic Party of Wisconsin in particular.
I mean, it's 2020, so.
I feel like from some of the other things I read, Ted Cruz had said Princess Bride was one of his favorite movies, and Carrie Elways was like, "Okay, well, surprise, you'd be Humperdinck." Like, and I think Carrie Elways kind of organized this to like get back at him.
Okay.
And I Wisconsin probably because it was a swing state or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
There were also a few failed Broadway musicals that came up in my research.
Saw those too,
None
yeah.
of them made it very far. At least one of them, William Goldman, was involved, but then they couldn't agree on like an author's fee for him, and that's why that one fell apart.
Yeah, he wanted like most of it, and he wasn't doing the writing. It was two
I
other
see.
people, and he wanted like 75%, according to what I read.
Okay. Interesting.
So like no, we're not going to give you all of our money.
And I don't know why the other one didn't work out. I don't know. I don't know if everything needs to be a Broadway musical
Right,
anyway,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
that seems to be what we're doing now. It's like everything in Hollywood's a remake or like existing characters, and then all of Broadway is just movies that we're turning into musicals.
That will
um,
turn again into another movie, but based on the musical, not the movie.
there you go. Yep. All
Hmm.
right, Mean Girls. Although I honestly I love the Mean Girls musical, so the actual like play, not the movie necessarily. But if you don't have anything else to add, I thought we'd close with some quotes from the cast about Rob Reiner.
Well, did it hold up?
Oh, of course. For some reason we can't tell why, but yeah, I mean, our entire notes for this episode were quotes from the movie, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I still watch this fairly regularly. This could probably be a comfort watch for me.
So I have to answer this in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So part of me says yes, it held up. In an odd way, it still gave me all the nostalgia feels of something I've never watched before, despite even though I've seen some of these scenes some countless times on TV or our wonderful trailer we got to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the better question for me, did it meet my expectations,
Mm-hmm.
knowing so much about it? And I would say yes, absolutely. Great
Right.
first watch as like, you know, start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the scenes I've seen before, those I got to look at with a, you know, under a magnifying glass for the note taking. I didn't take a lot of notes because I was just enjoying the damn movie.
Same.
um,
Mm-hmm.
as a first watch, which I've done on this podcast before. Some of your picks, but this was different because it just felt different. I don't know. Like this is something I was supposed to have seen before, and
Mm-hmm.
I came late to the party. But hey, I'm still here.
Well, like you said, you weren't going in completely blind either.
Yeah,
Well, I am very relieved that you liked it.
yeah. 5 out of 5. I'll watch again.
Okay, great. All right. So my closing quotes from Fred Savage about Rob Reiner. He found me in a casting room in downtown Chicago and gave me the opportunity to be a part of something that has become so much bigger than anyone could have ever imagined. Who knew those 2 weeks in a bedroom set on the Shepperton studio lot would last forever? His work was a gift to us all, and I feel lucky to have been a part of it. Chris Sarandon just posted a picture of him with Rob Reiner and the cast of The Princess Bride and said he changed my life. Christopher Guest and Jamie Lee Curtis released a joint statement. They said there will be plenty of time later to discuss the creative lives we shared and the great political and social impact they both had on the entertainment industry, early childhood development, the fight for gay marriage, and their global care for a world in crisis. We have lost great friends. Please give us time to grieve. And it did sound like more than anyone else, Christopher Guest and Jamie Lee Curtis were very close friends with Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle after filming, like throughout the years. They were still very close. Mandy Patinkin, who played Inigo Montoya. When we were filming the scene in The Princess Bride where Inigo kills the six-fingered man and says, I want my father back, you son of a bitch. Take after take after take, Rob kept asking me to do less, do less, do less. In my sleepless night, I realized he wanted less anger from me to allow my broken heart to be felt. Now I'm hearing his voice tell us all to do more, do more, do more to repair the human soul, to repair our hearts, to repair our country, and repair the world. To never give up, to keep fighting, to keep living for every soul taken from this earth that no longer has the life and breath to raise their voices for a better world. We must raise our voices for them. Robin Wright said, Rob was one of the most loving, compassionate, and kind people I have ever known. He was an extraordinary director, and the impact he had on me has stayed with me throughout my career. I did see a clip where it was specifically Rob Reiner, Robin Wright, and Carrie Elways. They were celebrating either the 25th or the 30th anniversary of The Princess Bride, and they all like put their hands in and they were like, we'll be back here for like 25 more years, celebrate like the 50th anniversary or whatever. And it's just like, and I know they were all kind of laughing. Like even Rob Reiner was like, who knows if I'll be here? But like, obviously takes on a different meaning watching it now. I wanted to say just a couple things about Carrie Elways before I read his quote. It seems like everyone in the cast or everyone that worked on the movie kind of agrees that he's become this historian sort of The Princess Bride, especially because he wrote that book. He actually has the original daily logs from the set. I believe he said Norman Lear gave them to him for the book. Whoever was in possession of them, Carrie Elways was given them for the book. So he has a lot of the memories, a lot of the actual set history. I think he even said he gave his sword that he used as Wesley to Rob Reiner, and Rob Reiner had it hanging on a wall in his house. So when the news first broke about Rob Reiner and his wife passing away, Carrie Elways I think he just posted a picture on his Instagram and said he like didn't have the words to talk about it right now, something very simple. So this is the statement he released once he finally said more. I was 24 when I first met Rob Reiner on The Princess Bride, and from that very first meeting, I fell in love with him. The first thing I noticed about Rob was that he wore his heart on his sleeve. This was a man who felt deeply, whose heart was filled with love and compassion. He always tried to find the best in people. He loved his family and friends immensely. He loved making movies and was clearly a brilliant filmmaker. But he told me what he really enjoyed the most was the experience itself. He used to say, once the movie is released, it belongs to other people. But while you're making it, that's your time on the planet, so you want to make it good. And there is more to that statement. I included part of it, but you can go on his Instagram to read the entire thing. It was lengthy.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but I don't know if we've ever talked about a movie where, I mean, obviously we've talked about movies that have held up, that have had cast reunions to some extent, but everyone in every interview talked about how nice Rob Reiner was, how much fun he was, how great he was to work with. And it seems like this cast in particular, I mean, they said themselves that they were very close, that they were hanging out all the time, even when they didn't have to be. But Carrie Elwes especially was seemingly always organizing reasons for them to get back together and do things
Okay.
related to the movie. Like I said, even his book, he not only was he writing this book, he got everyone to write their own bit about what they remember from the set. So it wasn't solely his memories. He got them all together for various read-throughs throughout the years, it sounds like. Interviews, a lot of the interviews I read, well, a lot of the interviews I tend to read in general for this podcast are like the 15th anniversary interview for this movie or that movie, and there were a lot of those
Right.
for The Princess Bride, and it really just sounds like he is sort of, I don't want to say the ringleader exactly, but he's the one that gets them all together constantly, and he's the
Sure.
one that's really, I wouldn't say he's keeping the memory of The Princess Bride alive because it doesn't necessarily need that from him, but he's very excited to still be known for this and to keep getting everyone together to like give interviews, do read-throughs, whatever.
He's like the lighthouse keeper.
There you go. Very good way to put it.
Thanks.
Yep. So before we end this, do you have a particular favorite Rob Reiner movie?
I would say by default, off the top of my head, would be This Is Spinal Tap.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the one I've seen the most. I don't know, because he had so many different genres, as we mentioned earlier,
Mm-hmm.
that I often forget about Misery and Stand By Me.
Right. Yep.
I probably would. It's probably a point in my life where I've watched This Is Spinal Tap a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably end of middle school, early high school, where I'm watching that and Mel Brooks movies, like all of the
Yeah.
Monty Python movies. There's those kind of comedy styles. I would always go with Spinal Tap, I suppose.
Yeah, I always tend to go with When Harry Met Sally because I rewatch that a lot, but I don't think I realized how much I've rewatched The Princess Bride until I had to watch it for this, especially taking notes. I was like, I could almost recite this whole movie. But yeah, like you said, I love Stand By Me in a totally different way. I wouldn't put it on as like my comfort watch like I would this or When Harry Met Sally. He just
I
did so many
think
different things.
yes. I think to like honestly answer that question is when you say like what's your favorite Rob Reiner movie. I went with the first thing I thought of because I think of Rob Reiner as like he did that movie to me, where
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy Misery and Stand By Me,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think of them as Rob Reiner movies. I think of like Stephen King adaptations or a coming of age film
Oh, that's
or
fair. Mm-hmm.
a, whatever you want to call what Misery is.
Coming of age
Scary.
film.
Yeah. No, maybe
Uh,
not so much, but I don't make the connection right away with Rob Reiner.
mm-hmm.
Whereas Spinal Tap, and even before seeing this, I mean, I know he did it. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
I would have said Princess Bride if that wouldn't have been a lie up until yesterday.
Oh, all right. All right. Well, we would love to hear your thoughts on The Princess Bride, as well as your own favorite Rob Reiner movies. You can find us on Instagram at Back Through the Lens Pod and on Facebook at Back Through the Lens. You can also email us at backthroughthelenspodcast@gmail.com. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating and review. It's the best way to support our show.
If you enjoyed our show today, please give us a like and follow for updates on new and future episodes. Our show is produced by our hosts, Rachel Campbell and myself, Joe Siomek, with additional help and support from Peter Telep of LPV Productions. Peter, Rachel, and I are also the executive producers. Our awesome logo is brought to you by Tom Faraci, and our wonderful theme song is by Matt Tarek. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more trips into our movie watching past on Back Through the Lens.
Carrie Elwes.
Elwes.
Okay.
Okay. Remember when we had to look up Samhain?
Samhain.
Samhain. I've learned so much doing this podcast.